Who said Jalen Hurts wasn't a top 5 quarterback in the NFL? Who said that? And why? I don't know. Look, new daily title starting today. All Football Fridays. Lots of baseball, lots of basketball topics floating around out there. We're going to make Fridays all about football here on Trending in the AM all summer long. All Football Fridays, they start in 30 seconds. Fourth and goal. And a very good morning, everybody, and welcome to Trending in the AM right here on Philadelphia Sports Network. We're live, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. You know the drill. Like, share, retweet, follow on all social media platforms. Make sure you hit the like button and the subscribe button right there on the YouTube page. Turn notifications on. That way you never miss a minute of it. When we go live right here on Philadelphia Sports Network with Trending in the AM, the most interactive morning show out there, the only show where your opinions actually matter. And we've been doing a lot of talking about the Phillies lately and the Sixers lately on this show. And I just feel like we need to have a little football conversation this Friday. It's Memorial Day weekend. Football, still 6-7 weeks out. But how much do people really want to talk about the Phillies, their atrociousness? I don't. You don't. So even though we'll spend a lot of time this summer talking Phillies and Sixers, I decided yesterday afternoon to say that Fridays throughout the entire summer will always be 100% football talk. Football Fridays. All Football Fridays. What up is my man Justin? How you doing today? The grind never stops. Come out here every single morning trying to find a way to entertain you people and have you have a place to have your voice heard. That's what we do here at Trending in the AM. So, Football Friday. I'm like, what are we going to talk about this Friday about the Eagles? It's been a while since we've dedicated a show to the Eagles. Hell, since I've been on Philadelphia Sports Network now, going on almost 2 full months now. Going on that, I don't think we've had a full dedicated Eagles conversation on this channel yet. You know, and so it got me thinking, what are we going to talk about today? And of course, as always, shows write themselves, stories write themselves. The conversation on this show, it's never hard to find out what we're going to talk about. So this week I had been going through Twitter and I had found PFF's quarterback rankings and wide receiver rankings entering the 2023 season. This guy, Sam Monson. Oh no, when I say Monson, I just think of the guy, I think of Woody Harrelson's character from Kingpin. But Sam Monson, I don't know who he is. I've never interacted with this guy before. Got well over 100,000 followers. You know, he obviously writes these lists for PFF. So, you know, I figured I'd take a look at it when I saw this article pop up. He also has one on wide receivers that we're going to tackle. So I go to open it. I want to see if this is clickbait type article, if this quarterback ranking list is fairly written or not. And big picture wise, Sam Monson's top 32 quarterback list, it's pretty fair. And, you know, it's not too clickbaity for most of the country. But then I go to find that he has Jalen Hurts ranked 7th on his top 32 quarterbacks going into 32. I was like, whoa. We got to find out what this guy's thinking. This is not Chris Sims we're talking about, who didn't have Carson Wentz on his, you know, anywhere, or Jalen Hurts anywhere, whatever. You know, this is not that. This is a legit site that tries to take itself seriously. And PFF gradings can be taken with a grain of salt. We know that. But I'm like, hold on a second. Why does this guy got Jalen Hurts ranked as the 7th best quarterback in football? So I'm like, let's take a look at this list. And I go through it, and just generally speaking, he's got Patrick Mahomes ranked as the number 1 quarterback. I'm like, all right, you want to say that? I'm okay with that. I can get behind anybody saying Patrick Mahomes is the best quarterback in football. Anybody that says otherwise, I don't know what they're thinking. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is clearly not just the best quarterback in football right now. Like, He may be one of the 5 or 10 best quarterbacks in football, period, ever. Like, I already believe Patrick Mahomes is in top 10 quarterback category stratosphere. Okay, all right, that's fine. Now, I would put the next class of quarterbacks in a group, and that's Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, and Jalen Hurts. Problem is, he doesn't have Jalen Hurts in that. He has Josh Allen is the number 2 quarterback, and Joe Burrow is the number 3. All right, I'm okay if you want to put Josh Allen 2. I would put Joe Burrow 2 or Jalen Hurts 2. Josh Allen hasn't, Johnny, won a Super Bowl. He hasn't played in a Super Bowl yet. Um, you know, so the question is, why doesn't he have Jalen Hurts in that next? Like, who does he have? So, like me, I Patrick Mahomes, then I Burrow, Allen, and Hurts. That's 2, 3, 4. It's interchangeable. If you want to put 1, 2, 1, 3, 1, 4, that's fine. If you want to go Burrow 2, Hurts 3, Allen 4, Burrow 2, Allen 3, Hurts 4, whatever combo. I don't agree with Josh Allen over Joe Burrow, but whatever. But who does he have ranked above Jalen Hurts? And that's the question. Good morning, Adam. How you doing? I'm better than Opie for sure. David and Tyree coming in. Pat Mahomes, Allen Hurts, Allen Rodgers. And again, this getting into who he has ahead of Hurts in that 4, 5, 6 range. You've got Aaron Rodgers, you above him, and you got Justin Herbert in that 5 range too. He actually ranked 4 Justin Herbert, 5 Aaron Rodgers, 6 Lamar Jackson before he gets to Jalen Hurts at 7. and I can't get behind that, Dave. I can't get behind. First off, Aaron Rodgers. I think sometimes my personal feelings, I just don't like the guy and the way he handles himself. But he's going to the Jets. Everybody just assumes 38, 39-year-old Aaron Rodgers could be this great quarterback still. I don't get it. Justin Herbert's a great quarterback as well. But Justin Herbert has even won a playoff game ever in his career. Like, he made his first playoff game last year and let the Jags come all the way back. Like, he's a great regular season quarterback, but he hasn't done anything. I look at what they did last year. When you're ranking your quarterbacks this year, you look at what they did last year, what their history and track record is, and what they're going to look like this year. And Justin Herbert's got the potential. I just don't see him above Jalen Hurts. And in your list, I would have Joe Burrow ahead of him. Joe Burrow played in the Super Bowl his second year. He competed for a run to the Super Bowl last year. So I think Aaron Rodgers and Justin Herbert have to be further down that list, for sure. Freaking the best quarterback in the NFC, absolutely. But that's not saying all the other good quarterbacks are in the AFC, Mitch. So that's where that lies. You say Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, Hurts. I'm just going to say, Johnny, I don't disagree. I think you have a valid point to make that your list. I'm just going to say because of playoff success, Allen would be 4th on my list. Okay, he hasn't gotten to the Super Bowl. Burrow and Hurts have at least gotten to the Super Bowl in their early career. So that's the only reason why I would do that. Josh Allen obviously has the running ability, over Burrow, but not Hurts. So I don't know. Best at NFC isn't saying much. Exactly. Yeah, the NFC is pretty brutal. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, everyone thinks like Aaron Rodgers is going to be this magical MVP. Everybody's ranking him in the top 5 again because he moved to the Jets. Look, I don't buy the Aaron Rodgers hype. Like, if I'm trying to pick the quarterbacks to lead my team this year, Aaron Rodgers is ahead of a lot of them. But he's not ahead of Jalen Hurts. He's not ahead of Justin Herbert even probably at this point. To me, it would be those first 4, and then we could talk Herbert at 5 if you want, then maybe 6 Aaron Rodgers. But then this guy also puts Lamar Jackson ahead of Jalen Hurts. And it brings up, I know there's some people that watch the show that are really big Lamar Jackson fans, but Lamar Jackson can't stay healthy. Lamar Jackson hasn't done anything pretty much since his MVP year, which was like 3 years ago. Like, I just don't get where if you take Lamar Jackson's career and give it to somebody else, they're wrecking him by this point. Like, he just gets a pass almost to an extent. Yeah, I accept your playoff critique. That playoff loss was garbage. It's fine. I just look at the quarterbacks. Like, if I'm ranking who I want as my quarterbacks in 2023, I'm looking at track record and stuff like that. And Josh Allen comes up a little small. Not totally, because it's not always his fault. I think when we made the comparison yesterday or 2 days ago, Josh Allen and Joel Embiid, very similar career arcs right now. Guys that are great in the regular season, but still can't seem to get over that hump. That to me, in the playoffs, that still seems to be Josh Allen's Achilles heel. Like, it's not all his fault. I think his team around him is overrated to an extent. Now, I don't watch every Bills game, but you know, I find a little bit of overratedness to the Bills. Like, they're good, and they've been lucky that the AFC East hasn't been great lately. A lot of people, I don't think the Jets will be good. A lot of people do. We'll see if they're better. Miami's better. New England's always good. This year with a tougher NFC East, I'll be curious to see how Buffalo plays with those 6 games on their schedule. Lamar must ball out every time. I'm not looking. Exactly. And so Johnny, like, I'm a Philadelphia fan. I consider where I live a Philadelphia suburb. But if you put a pin, my town, I'm equal distance to Philadelphia Airport to Baltimore Airport. So I get a lot of Baltimore fans in my area. It's more miles to Baltimore, but safe driving distance to Baltimore as it is to Philly. So, even though I'm a Philly suburb, I still get a lot of Baltimore talk around here. And man, everybody thinks, Lamar Jackson is this amazing, and he's a really good quarterback. Don't get me wrong. But the fact that, he's held to such a higher level, or everybody perceives him at a higher level, it's crazy. Adam's saying Mahomes, Allen 2, Hurts 3, Burrows 4, Rodgers 5. And again, I think 1 through 4, I'm still going to put Herbert over Rodgers, barely, but I will. But I also think those first 4, Mahomes, Allen, Hurts, and Burrow, compared to the rest, there's a big gap, I think, between Allen, Hurts, and Burrows and Rodgers and Herbert and Jackson, which Rodgers, Herbert, and Jackson is that next class. And you might be able to throw, Trevor Lawrence in that class too. But again, I respect your thoughts on this, Adam. But what I'm going to say is I'm still going to put Allen 4th in there just because it's not his first year. Like, Hurts and Burrow in their second year starting were playing in Super Bowls. Allen's now, 5 years, 6 years into the league, and he still hasn't gotten over that hump. I'm just going to put them ahead of him just a touch, but that's crazy. Allen had a terrible play against the Bengals. Yeah, Allen does, I don't know, maybe regular season-wise, Johnny, but it seems like Josh Allen makes one really bad play every playoff game. Like, always. Like, I'm coping by thinking his O-line was garbage. It might be. And that's what I think. I think the Bills in general have been not as good as the hype around Josh Allen. It doesn't mean, though, that I'm taking Josh Allen over Joe Burrow and Jalen Hurts, just because of the playoff wins that they have already in their young career. Philly for life. Mahomes, Hurts, Burrow, Rodgers, then Allen. So you're going to put Aaron Rodgers ahead of Josh Allen. That's interesting. Based off of last year's play, I'm going to slightly disagree with you and flip-flop those two, but that's intriguing to me. That really is. I'm torn whether Rodgers or Herbert would be 5 or 6 for me. So I would definitely not want to put Aaron Rodgers in that 4 spot, but it's a very interesting ranking there. Lamar got weapons, maybe, like, I don't know. Lamar's interesting with his weapons. I mean, he's had some, but nothing great. Belichick demonstrated it was all Brady. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I hear a lot of hype coming out of Patriots OTAs that Mac Jones is turning it around. Mac Jones is a terrible, terrible quarterback, and if Belichick can't get anything out of him, that's crazy. Burrow is all-star talent everywhere. Yeah, so does Jalen Hurts, but nobody complained that Joe Montana had Jerry Rice. No one complained that Tom Brady had Randy Moss or whatnot. So it's crazy how Russell Wilson not in this conversation. I mean, literally. Well, I hope I'm right on Aaron Rodgers, because the same reason why I said Russell Wilson was going to stink last year is what I think about Aaron Rodgers this year. I just didn't want it to be true about Russell Wilson. I like Russell Wilson. He seems like a decent dude, and I love the way he played in Seattle. But man, that Denver team was, man. And everybody's trying to re-hype up Denver this year. No way I'm buying that hype yet. I'm actually curious here where Sam Monson has on this list here, Aaron Rodgers. I'm going to go through the rest of the list to see where people think. We'll go field by field, but he's got Russell Wilson as the 20th ranked quarterback. And I don't know about that, because he's got Ryan Tannehill at 19 right above him. But anyway, he's got Jalen Hurts at 7. Then he's got Lawrence at 8, Kirk Cousins at 9, Dak Prescott at 10. Trevor Lawrence is primed to take a jump up this list this year for sure. We'll see how it is. We'll see if Howie got another late offseason trade in him, maybe Buda or Byard. There's no doubt in my mind that Howie Roseman's going to make at least one more move on this team. Um, there's no way. There's no way he's going to go into the season with all these Super Bowl aspirations and not make at least a move at linebacker or safety. Probably safety, but maybe linebacker. I don't know. We'll see how that goes. Rodgers will have a better upcoming year. But see, I'm basing it off a track record and recency bias, and Herbert's trending up. Allen's trending up, or at the peak. Rodgers was trending down. I don't buy the Jets, and maybe that's part of it too. Russell Wilson, right? You're right. Top 3 10 years ago. He was top 3 maybe 2 or 3 years ago. He was still playing at a pretty high level. Daniel Jones got Dabble helping. Yeah, where's Daniel Jones on this list? So Dak Prescott's at 10, Tua at 11, Stafford 12, Deshaun Watson 13, Derek Carr, who I think is going to have a sneaky decent season in New Orleans this year, at 14, Geno 15, Goff 17, Daniel Jones 17, Fields 18, Tannehill 19, Russell Wilson 20, Mac Jones 21, then the rest don't matter. So that's interesting. Prescott should never be lower than 10. He has done anything. I think Dak Prescott's right there in that 9, 10, 11 range of quarterbacks. He's better than the average to below average quarterbacks, Adam. He's just not. The problem is right now in the NFL, like Dak Prescott's probably the 9th or 10th best quarterback in the NFL. Problem is that's because after the top 4, like there's only like 9 or 10 even good quarterbacks in the NFL. There's like a really serious drop off in quarterback play. We're kind of like in a changing phase. Like Brady's out, Peyton Manning's out, Drew Brees is out, and not enough guys have stepped up. So you got like the 5 or 6 elite quarterbacks, and then a huge gap, and that's crazy. Dak is a very good quarterback. I think Dak Prescott, not in the hoopla of Dallas, not with the terrible GM / president / owner Jerry Jones, might have a different narrative around him. He might be a better quarterback, but the Dallas spotlight and the Dallas thing just doesn't work. I actually was a huge fan of Dak coming out of Mississippi State. I saw a cross between Donovan McNabb and Dante Culpepper, big, bulkier guy that could throw, that can move. It didn't pan out that way. We're going to get to Eagles running back soon because I ran a poll on that. Herbert mid. Yeah, that's that term mid. I got into it with somebody, some big account in the middle of the season last year, that somebody said, "What are your thoughts on give me your thoughts on Justin Herbert?" And I just called him Phillip Rivers, which is basically a great regular season quarterback that puts up stats, but then comes up small when it means anything. And I got into a big, he blocked me and told everybody to block me, and I lost a bunch of followers, whatever, just because he didn't like my comparison. Never got offensive in the conversation. But I don't buy Justin Herbert. He's just better than the rest of the average quarterbacks. 2 years ago, he was an MVP. I think he was 2 years ago. He was a 2-year MVP. Wasn't he back-to-back MVP? I mean, it's possible. Again, we got 20 people watching. We only got 10 likes. Make sure you're smashing that like button for me here on the YouTube channel, guys. Okay, right. I don't know. I don't buy the Jets. I don't buy what they're building. I think Aaron Rodgers wanted to retire, and I don't know why. When your heart's not all in it, I just don't buy it. And I don't know if his heart. I already heard that through OTAs, he's already taking what he's calling veteran days because he tweaked something, and he's just not going to be mentally in it this year. Rodgers always looks good in the regular season. Not much. I can't believe a guy has the reputation that he has, and he's only got 1 Super Bowl title. Like, he's like considered one of the greatest of all time, and he's come up small in the playoffs a lot in his career. You want me to recap the top 10 one more time on this PFF top 10 quarterbacks entering the 2023 season? It is Patrick Mahomes 1, Josh Allen 2, Joe Burrow 3, Herbert 4, Rodgers 5, Jackson 6, Jalen Hurts 7, Lawrence, Cousins, Prescott 8, 9, 10. And I think outside of the Jalen Hurts thing, I think it's a pretty accurate list, honestly, at this. Only one bad year. But it's the mental aspect of the bad year, and then all the hoopla that went this offseason. That's where I'm coming from on my Aaron Rodgers. Like, when you're not in it, you're not in it. Bryce Young's in the bottom of that list. We'll see. I want to see the short guy do well. We'll find out. What about the Julio Jones rumors? I like that possibility. Well, I still firmly believe we need to upgrade that slot and Quez Watkins. If you get them cheap enough, sure. Why not? I mean, he's at the end of his career. I don't know if he'll play 17 games, but he's better than Quez. You've got 13, 14 million in cap space. You could definitely bring him here. I just hope that whatever other moves get made, Kyle, as long as it doesn't stop us from making a move for a safety or a linebacker, that's fine. But if you want Buda Baker or one of these other guys and you need some of that cap space for them, I don't want to waste it on Julio. But I would love to upgrade that wide receiver 3 spot big time, and that would be that. Dallas, to be honest, just suck. Yeah, look, McCarthy's terrible. They've bounced offensive coordinators around. The organization, I mean, if I had an option to play football, sure, I'd play anywhere. But Dallas would be the last organization I'd want to play for just because it's the Jerry Jones show. Until Jerry Jones retires, I don't think Dallas will ever be a serious regular threat. They might get hot one season here or there, but they just won't. I agree. I think you sign Julio. Yeah, I mean, you've got the money. It's not good. I think it's about 13 or 14 million in cap right now. If you can get him for like a $2 million cap hit only, sure, he's already got the connection. I think him and AJ Brown were teammates in Tennessee for a season. It can't hurt. It 100% can't hurt. Yeah, it's because Rodgers has a lot of MVPs. Yeah, this list I think was made too much of. Like, if you read the descriptions on the people ranked ahead of Jalen Hurts, it says Jalen Hurts is ranked this low because he only had one good year. But then they say, like, Lamar Jackson had consecutive bad years, but he's still really good. Aaron Rodgers had a bad year, but he's Aaron Rodgers, so he's ahead of him. Like, a lot of these, like Justin Herbert ranked 4. The first line, this could be a big year for Herbert. Well, Jalen Hurts has had the big year, and he's coming off of the big year. He was the best player on the field in the Super Bowl. And you're going to put guys that were or could be ahead of him. That's where the frustration came on this list. The rest of this list, I think, is fairly accurate or at least fairly debatable. But the Jalen Hurts, and I'm not bringing up the Jalen Hurts part of it to say it's disrespectful. I'm not bringing it up to say that he was out of line. It's just the reasoning that bothers me a little bit on him. To be fair, Peyton has 2 rings, and one of them, his defense did all the work. Absolutely agree. There's something about being a regular season quarterback or coming up small in the playoffs. Timing, everything. Aaron Rodgers, though, Peyton Manning had to get through Tom Brady all the time. He had to get through Philip Rivers, even though he did when he had to. Like, that's one thing. Who did Aaron Rodgers have to get through? Eli Manning? Like the quality of quarterbacks that he had to go through versus, Russell Wilson, obviously a very good quarterback. I'm sure they battled in the playoffs at some point. But Peyton Manning's timing was against Tom Brady. Aaron Rodgers? I don't know. I think there's something there, too. Lamar is stagnant. Hurts was barely mid one year, and last year was John Elway. I just think that they're relying too much on the past and not enough about what we just saw this past year. I know Jalen Hurts only had one season, and it's going to be almost impossible for Jalen Hurts to match last year's ascension. Like, he went from 2021 here to 2022 here. Like, that jump, he's not going to be able to take that big of a jump. If he takes another big jump, he's going to be the greatest quarterback of all time. Like, even if he just maintains 2022's level, he's still better at this point than Lamar Jackson. Fun fact, most of our form our opinions based on what we see. We see them in the playoffs. That's true. Like, I don't watch every Buffalo game, but I watch every Buffalo playoff game. So we do form our opinions on these guys not in our home city because of what we see in the playoffs. I think that's a very fair comment right there. Julio would make more mismatches for Smith. And yeah, absolutely. Like I said, I'm not against it at all. Now, I'm not committing $7-10 million for Julio Jones at this point. When you only have $14 million, I'm not giving him more than a 1-year deal. But if he wants a chance at a Super Bowl, Julio was still with the Falcons when Matt Ryan went to the Super Bowl with them, and they lost that big game against the Patriots. But that was it, right? So I think that's the only time he's ever played in the Super Bowl. So if he wants that Super Bowl trophy and he's willing to come here on a cheap deal, 130%. Yeah, that Jalen Hurts fumble, it often gets swept under the rug in the Super Bowl just because of how much he balled out and how great the rest of the team played. And, they were this close, and the passing interference penalty kind of sways a lot of things there. But that fumble, changed the momentum in the first half, that fumble from Jalen Hurts. And you got to know that he won't let that happen again. That's the great thing about Jalen Hurts. Like, his arm strength might not get any better. His passing might not get any better. It peaked pretty high last year. Um, but the mental toughness and the mental fortitude and the intangibles he brings can still get even better. And it will. Like, everything you're seeing, he just signed for $255 million. And his personality hasn't changed one bit. Like, his demeanor hasn't changed at all. So I will never worry about Jalen Hurts getting better or stronger mentally and not letting a mistake like that happen. He's now going to learn that, it's getting close to halftime. Like, it's Super Bowl. Like, we can't, in a certain moment, you can't be too aggressive. And it's just another thing to chalk up that he probably learned this past season that he'll get better this year. I mean, he barely turned over the ball in 2022. He just had one big turnover in the biggest game of the year at an awful moment that's changed the tides of the game. And he's going to learn. That's the one thing about him. He's never going to be happy. I mean, Lamar's been in the playoffs. I don't know what his playoff record is. Johnny's saying Peyton is so overrated. Now, I don't know if I can say he's so overrated. Where would he rank on my all-time quarterback list? I don't know. He's top 5, I guess. Tom Brady 1 for sure. I don't know. I'd have to really sit down and think about it. Hurts, 4,000 passing yards, 600 rushing yards, 30 TDs, 10 TDs. That's a bold stat line, man. I don't know what the exact number I'm going to do. I was already talking last year. I do this show with Mr. Crockpot and Shane Half, an over-under prediction show on Eagle Stats. We did it last year. We're running it back this year. I had a bold statement last year that Hassan Reddick would get 18.5 sacks. And he didn't have his first sack till like game 3. And he still almost hit that bold number. Everyone thought it was crazy. And then it was really close to hitting. And we were already discussing when this show's going to be this summer. And I'm sitting there thinking, I'm like, I got to have, that's got to be my thing, a bold prediction. And the 4,000 yards, I definitely agree. He's got a chance, Jalen Hurts does. I'm going to go that I don't know what the yardage is going to be. I don't know what his yardage was last year, but I think he's going to have a significant drop in rushing yards this year because this team with the running back rotation that they're going to have, which we'll get into in a little bit, with the offensive line, I think they're going to do more to protect Jalen Hurts this year, so he's not going to run as often. I'm thinking less than 500 rushing yards or something like that. I don't know. I got to think about it still. Jalen Hurts is going to win us at least one Super Bowl. At least. I think that this team is set up short-term and long-term that in the next 5 years we have a legit chance to play in 3. So that means in the next 6 or the next 5 plus the year we just had. So in a 6-year span, we might play in 4 Super Bowls. And if we do, if Jalen Hurts can at least win one of those, maybe 2. That's how talented he is, not just as a quarterback on the field, as a leader. And that's the thing. Jalen Hurts, leadership, the intangibles, the fact that the time in the NFC is so open, he should have at least one Super Bowl win in the next 5 years, and he might play us in a few more, which you never know when you get to the Super Bowl. Lamar's 1-3 in the playoffs. Yeah, Lamar Jackson, come up small. It is what it is. Reddick, I saw one national reporter, not national, I think it was a local reporter. I think it was ESP, saying that Hassan Reddick is the most underrated or underpaid Eagle, and he should be demanding a new contract. Like, oh my God, don't stir shit up. Don't get in Reddick's ear. I don't want him holding out for more money. Stop with that. What's up, my man Cam? Do you think pure pocket passers can still be effective? It's funny, Cam. That's a great question, because you look at this top 10 list, and then I'm going over, and you look at it. Mahomes isn't a pure pocket guy. He scrambles around. Josh Allen's not a pure pocket guy. Joe Burrow is. Herbert is. Rodgers kind of is. Jackson Hurts isn't. Trevor Lawrence kind of a tweener there. Like, I think you can win more with being able to be mobile. You don't have to be a running quarterback. And I don't think a running quarterback can win in the NFL. But if you're a mobile quarterback that has pure pocket skills, it's the perfect world. And that's what Mahomes is. Like, everyone's going to be looking for the next Patrick Mahomes always. Pure pocket skills with the ability to be mobile and run. Like 10, 15 years ago, even if you were slightly mobile, you were written off as, no, we can't. You only could win with pure pocket passers. I think the NFL's changed. I think coaches and GMs have realized that this is the way the game's going. And if you can find somebody that can be a mobile quarterback but knows how to protect themselves, Russell Wilson's proven you can do both. So I think you can win, you know, without being a pocket passer. And I don't know if you'll see pure pocket passers as the anchors of franchises much going forward. You're going to see, like you see Herbert, I guess, is the and Joe Burrow are. And Joe Burrow did play in a Super Bowl. But you're going to see less and less of them competing in the big games at the end of the year and more of the Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen mold of a quarterback. Chances that Sue returns as an Eagle. He already said he ain't going to any team's training camp. He says he's going to wait and then he'll sign somewhere, whatever. If we need him, it depends. We're pretty deep on the line. I think he's still got enough in the tank, and if he wants to play only 8 games a year, it's like adding somebody at the trade deadline almost. All pro at the trade deadline. Do you feel the Eagles-Niners game will be a rivalry game? Yeah, of course it will be. See, it's funny. We just got done playing Houston, the Houston Astros for the Phillies a few weeks back. And they're like, it's the revenge game. I'm like, no. Playing the regular season doesn't get you revenge for losing in the playoffs. But the Niners will look at it as a revenge game, and they'll want revenge. We'll just see where the Eagles are at that point in the season. It means it'll be more of a rivalry to the Niners than the Eagles, unless the Eagles are really taking the trash talking all offseason that we would have won this, whatever. Unless they take that seriously, it won't be a rival to the Eagles as much. 600 rushing yards is average of 35 a game. I get that, and he will have that, but I still think that you're gonna see more games of him having 10 to 15 to 20 rushing yards than 35 plus. You're going to see more games of him only having 5 rushes versus 18 and 12, stuff like that. We're going to get into Swift, and we're going to get into this stuff in a minute, and I think this running back rotation of the Eagles will be a big part of it. Josh Allen is 50% run. Yeah, I mean, and I don't know. I think Josh Allen needs a better team and a better organization around him. Mahomes, first guy that does not need planted feet to lay dimes. I mean, the dude he's like levitating like freaking Chris Angel over a building, and he's still flinging a football 50 yards behind him, accurately. It's insane. Michael Vick playing the wrong, not a perfect quarterback, but he would. Yeah, in this day and age where offenses are more creative, you've got faster wide receivers and running backs, more athletic tight ends, the way that it's acceptable to run around. Michael Vick's biggest problem always was that he couldn't protect himself. But dude, man, Michael Vick, man, snap of a wrist, 70-yard dime down the field with a perfect spiral, man. Was there any quarterback period that threw a football as pretty as him at a snap, just a boom, way downfield? It was crazy. Robert Quinn did nothing for us. Robert Quinn is gone. The guy would be an amazing addition. There's a couple people I'd like to see them at, honestly, at this point. But we'll see how it plays out. Russell Wilson, first one to be Super Bowl, great passer and runner, changed the game. And Johnny, Russell Wilson laid the groundwork on how you protect yourself too. Because how many times, especially early in his career, you see him break out into open field, he gets the extra yards, and he never took a big hit. He knew how to protect his body. And that's why, at this point of his career, he's still playing. He played terribly last year. I think that was more the team. Everybody overranked the Broncos, except for me. Vic's biggest issue of other health is his inability to read coverage. Yeah. But you do a little bit less of that if you're running around, floating around back there. All right, so the other list that they did, this PFF, before we get into the running back rotation of the Eagles and where they're at, I want to dive into their wide receiver ranking list here too. Because it was interesting. First off, you guys know we've done this a few times. We've talked about A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and how I think Devontae Smith is actually the better one. I mean, A.J. Brown is the more highly ranked, the more nationally looked at better wide receiver. But I think you're all going to realize this year that Devontae Smith is the better wide receiver than A.J. Brown. I just think he is. He's 2 years younger. He's a better route runner. He attacks the ball better. He makes better play. He doesn't take plays off ever. A.J. Brown mentally checks out a play here or there. What is the Eagles' most shallow position? It's a cross between safety and linebacker. I think actually linebacker probably on paper is shallower, but I think this team, the way the defense is built, can win with weaker linebacker play. Safety, you have some okay players, Edmonds, Reed Blankenship, maybe Sidney Brown as a rookie if he does well in camp. Kayvon Wallace still. So they're average, but this defensive scheme needs great safety play. So those two things there, I'll put the answer to your question. It's more shallow at linebacker, but it's more important to upgrade the safety position. So on this wide receiver list, I'm looking at it. I'm like, all right, let's see where our two main Eagles wide receivers are on the list. And first and foremost, he put Davante Adams ahead of Justin Jefferson. He explains it. Nobody really. Nakobe Dean's going to be one of the starting linebackers, and they signed some back end bench guys, and that was about it. Actually, Nolan Smith and Hassan Reddick are listed technically as linebackers too. He's got Davante Adams ranked ahead of Justin Jefferson. Now, I would put Jefferson ahead of Adams, especially because of their situation they're in right now. But it's interchangeable. Then he goes Tyreek Hill 3, Jamar Chase 4. Again, very interchangeable. He's got Stefon Diggs 5, Cooper Kupp 6. Again, I think that's fair. Cooper Kupp coming off of some injuries and stuff like that. And then at 7, he's got the first Eagle ranked as A.J. Brown is the 7th best wide receiver in football. And just below that, you got McLaurin, CeeDee Lamb, and Deebo Samuel 8, 9, 10. I think that's fair. A.J. Brown is the 7th ranked wide receiver. I'm not putting him ahead of, at this point, Kupp or Diggs or Jamar Chase or obviously not Davante Adams and Justin Jefferson. Davante Adams one spot over Justin Jefferson. I don't know. Maybe they're just saying last year with Derek Carr, that season with the Raiders was an anomaly. He's better than that. I don't know. Maybe they're saying because they don't trust, Minnesota's quarterback, Kirk Cousins. That's why they put Jefferson below him. I don't know, but I think it's fair. 1 through 7 is a pretty fair list on wide receiver. Now my concern is that when you look, I'm like, all right, well, where's Devontae Smith? Because he's got Terry McLaurin ranked 8th, and Terry McLaurin is a talented wide receiver, but he's done nothing in the NFL. They've had terrible wide quarterback play in Washington for a while, but still, he's not done anything to help his quarterback be any better, in my opinion. So I'm like, I don't know if he's 8, and CeeDee Lamb at 9, and Deebo at 10. All right, like, where is Devontae Smith? Because I would take Devontae Smith over Terry McLaurin at this point. I would take him in about the same sentence as CeeDee Lamb and Deebo Samuel at this point. Then he's got 11 Mike Evans. I see DeAndre Hopkins at 12. I'm like, well, what's going on here? Talk about DeAndre Hopkins to the Eagles too. And maybe, I don't know. Then he's got Garrett Wilson at 13 ahead of A.J. Brown. And because Aaron Rodgers is quarterback and they're high on Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson's obviously going to be a great wide receiver. I don't know about that. Is Garrett Wilson right now entering the season better than Devontae Smith? No. DK Metcalf at 14. I would put DK Metcalf ahead of McLaurin. Again, ahead of Garrett Wilson, DeAndre Hopkins. He's got Amon St. Brown at 15 with the Lions. Like, is Amon-Ra St. Brown better than Devontae Smith? No. DJ Moore on the Bears? Is he better than him? Jalen Waddle at 17? I'm like, where's Devontae Smith? And finally, all the way down at 18, he's got Devontae Smith. And I'm just thinking here, like, is there a bias against Devontae Smith? Do they not want to put two wide receivers from the same team too close together on a list? Because there's a lot of guys from 8 to 17 that I would take before or after Devontae Smith. I would take Devontae Smith ahead of them. And I'm not sure I trust or like that ranking on Devontae Smith. So my question kind of sort of is to you guys, do I overrate Devontae Smith? Because this is a guy, and again, Sam Monson, whatever, played, was a bowler in Kingpin, wrote this list. He's obviously a reputable guy. I'm not calling him out in a negative way at all. Lists are great conversation starters. And I think that this list either does one of two things. He, as a national guy that doesn't watch the Eagles, is undervaluing Devontae Smith's skill set, or me as a fan that watches Devontae Smith all the time and has this narrative written in his head that Devontae Smith is better than A.J. Brown. Do I have Devontae Smith ranked too highly? And that's where right now I'm a little confused. Because again, Devontae Smith at 18th. I would say Jalen Waddle, he's a possession wide receiver. I probably take, like, you have my point, but maybe you didn't want two guys on the same team. You had Tyreek Hill 4th and Jalen Waddle 17th, so you had two guys separated there a lot again. DJ Moore, he's going to the Bears. Like, we think DJ Moore is really good, but again, just like McLaurin, hasn't ever had that breakout year because of quarterback play. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I mean, he's a good guy. And I still can't get the Garrett Wilson over at 13. You want to put Hopkins and Evans and Debo ahead of him? Sure. But I'm not putting Garrett Wilson ahead of Devontae Smith right now. I'm not putting DK Metcalf ahead of Garrett, behind him. Yeah, I think this list from like 8 through 17 was poorly done. Then you put like Higgins and Ayuk and Godwin. After that, these are all guys I put ahead of him, or he stays ahead of Deontay Johnson, Tyler Lockett. It just goes to show that there's a big drop off at wide receiver. I call DJ Moore DJ drops. Yeah, I mean, and that's one of those situations with Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen. I only see him play in the playoffs, and did he make the playoffs? So I don't know. I'm more stuck in this whole philosophy that that Devontae Smith is like, if I think Devontae Smith is better than AJ Brown, and AJ Brown is ranked 7th, and I think that's pretty fair. Wouldn't that then mean that if I'm even remotely close on this, that he should be at least in the top 10? Like, again, Scary Terry McLaurin. I don't know. He's got 4 seasons. He's got over 4,000 yards receiving. He catches the ball, whatever, but his team just never – it's not like he ever does anything he never makes that big play that puts his team over the top. So, I'm just not sure what I'm doing here with the Devontae Smith, AJ Brown comparison. If it ain't on numbers, yeah, I think the thing is, a lot of this wide receiver list is that there's a lot of guys that are put ahead of Devontae Smith, whose Devontae Smith's numbers are really good. I think a lot of it's put on potential that these guys have, and a lot of them haven't lived up to that potential. Devontae Smith has. Hell, at least Jalen Waddle's put up numbers. You know what I mean? In a very explosive offense. Devontae Smith's done it. I mean, Devontae Smith, you look at his numbers last year, how great they were, over 1,000 yards receiving. He did it with A.J. Brown opposite him, with Dallas Goedert, a top 5 tight end. He did it with Jalen Hurts' rushing ability and the rushing attack of the Eagles being so great. To find the way and the ability to get the numbers he got, just I think is, really strong. So all of it combined, the whole encompass of that thing there, I think there's not enough credit given to Devontae Smith at this point. And I'm telling you, when this list comes out next year, I would expect A.J. Brown to still be in that top 10 or 12. But I guarantee that Devontae Smith's going to see lists like this, and he's going to work his ass off, and he's going to be in that top 10 next year. Like, that's how talented he is. Like, go back and watch some of his route running that Devontae Smith does. Like, the way he makes his cuts and breaks out of his cuts, for a guy of his frame, it's amazing. The way he attacks the ball, he doesn't wait till the ball gets to him. He attacks it. And if you don't know what that means, just watch when a wide receiver just waits and is patient for the ball, or when he grabs at it. He attacks that ball, which means because of his size, when you can't body him up. How is Smith's effort? I think Smith's effort's 110% every play. And I don't know, your question, Diggs is little, but we'll go get it. So I don't know if you're questioning Diggs, effort or not. But I've questioned A.J. Brown's effort on plays before. A.J. Brown hasn't, quote unquote, had alligator arms. I don't know if you know what that term means. For what? A.J. Brown gets sort of alligator armish when he knows a big hit. Maybe he's protected himself, but maybe he doesn't lay out for balls that are slightly overthrown. There was a turnover last year where he didn't go, like, he just let the defender run right by him. Didn't even try to tackle him on a fumble or an interception or whatever it may be. A.J. Brown's effort can be questioned. Just not a lot, but occasionally. He makes mental mistakes. Devontae Smith, you never have to worry about that. And I think that's a big thing right there. The effort is, Diggs is A+. Okay, DJ Moore is a C. I haven't watched enough DJ Moore. I've seen some of them. I don't know enough to question DJ Moore's effort. Diggs, I don't know enough to question it or agree with you on it. But I can speak personally on the Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown. And Devontae Smith is an A-plus effort guy. A.J. Brown's like a B minus, you know, B, maybe a solid B on the effort front. So that's where I would put that right there. But anyway, I thought it was interesting to take a look at these just to see how this Eagles offense is perceived by a national publication. Because PFF, again, I always say PFF, you take their rankings with a grain of salt. They have their own unique way of formulating numbers and the PFF gradings and stuff like that. They have their own way of doing things. Effort is top component of a wide receiver grade. I think effort is on a lot of positions. I think effort isn't taken into account, period, as a football player. Like I think more people need to take effort into when they're grading all positions. But I think it's interesting how this Eagles team, who in 2020 they won 4 games, 2021 you turn the reins over to Jalen Hurts and you squeak into the playoffs and you get smoked, and everybody after 2021 was still so down on this Eagles team. And then the Eagles come out last year and Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts take the Eagles to the Super Bowl. And it was going to be interesting to me, and it's going to be interesting all season as I read more rankings. And Chris Sims is starting his quarterback ranking, and God only knows where he'll have Jalen Hurts. He'll either have Jalen Hurts number 1 or 2, or have Jalen Hurts outside of his top 10. Like he only knows how to offend Eagles fans with his list. But like how they're perceived, and when you're reading these rankings, you have Jalen Hurts at 7, you have Eagles, you have Devontae Smith all the way down at 18. It tells me these national publications, these national writers and podcasters and media things don't have faith in the Eagles repeating their success. And it is very hard to repeat success in the NFL. I mean, you do see teams, Kansas City, most recently, always repeating, always deep into the playoffs, always playing in Super Bowls and whatnot. But very hard is it easy to repeat success in the NFL. The losing team in a Super Bowl very rarely repeats to get into the Super Bowl. You see that time and time again. But this Eagles team is built foundationally a little different. And while they got to the Super Bowl last year's goal probably wasn't a Super Bowl appearance. It was to make the playoffs, get a playoff win. They exceeded expectations. But they continued to make the team better and deeper. They didn't rest on their laurels. Howie Roseman continued to add. OZ, you didn't upgrade Quez Watkins yet, but you upgraded, Pascal with OZ from the Falcons. You flipped your running back room a little bit, and we're going to get into the running back room here in a second. I overrate Allen compared to the nation. Yeah, okay. I mean, again, though, I don't think rating Josh Allen as the second or third best quarterback is overrated. He's a damn good quarterback. I put him at 4, but that's just because I'm looking at Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow's Super Bowl appearance over Allen having more opportunities and still not getting there yet. But that's the only reason. So let's talk Eagles running backs, because I was thinking about something made me. I saw somebody post something that got my mind, running around on the running backs that the Eagles have put together here. Okay, basically, I'm sitting here thinking we got DeAndre Swift. We make the big trade, draft weekend for DeAndre Swift. We already had Kenneth Gainwell. We bring back Boston Scott. We've got Trey Sermon. The Eagles organization seems super high on Kenneth Gainwell. Super high. It seems like they're talking that, we thought Kenneth Gainwell, once they said Miles Sanders can go, and he goes and signs that 3-year, 4-year, $26 million deal in Carolina, whatever the deal was, that was the right thing to do. I said it right from the get-go. We knew that we were going to lose Miles Sanders, but losing and replacing Miles Sanders' 1,300 yards and 11 touchdowns, whatever the numbers were, was going to be very difficult to do. The Eagles' offense and the front office and the people making decisions seem high on Kenny Gainwell. They bring back Boston Scott. They still got Trey Sermon. You hear Nick Sirianni talk about Trey Sermon saying, well, we wish we could have gotten him more touches last year. We like what he's doing. What was wrong with Miles Sanders? If you talk to the overreactionary Eagles fans, if he had fumble issues, which he only fumbled once last year, but years past he did. He had health issues, although he played almost every game last year. He has missed games in the past. And 2 years ago, he didn't even find the end zone once 2 years ago. Last year, they're saying the 11 touchdowns was an anomaly. Miles Sanders is a very good running back. He's not in that elite category, but he's not a bad running back. The problem really was that the Eagles' philosophy is not to pay running backs. The Eagles find a running back, use them up, then spit them out. The Eagles will never give a long-term contract and big money to a running back. So $26 million doesn't sound like a lot in the grand scheme of things in football, but that's above what they want to pay. All these other rumors like go get Derrick Henry or go get Dalvin Cook, the Eagles, or Austin Eckler, who just renegotiated his deal to stay in with the Chargers. Like the Eagles wouldn't bring those guys in because they're not paying $8, $9, $10 million a year for a running back. So the biggest issue with Miles Sanders was front office wise was the contract. So you couldn't replace Miles Sanders' production though. Like I wouldn't have been confident going into the year. The Eagles said they would have been with Kenneth Gainwell as that lead guy. But they positioned themselves talking wise that he was going to be the lead guy. But then they go out and they get Rashad Penny. And everyone hyped because Rashad Penny, when healthy, is this great running back. And I get that. When healthy, Rashad Penny is a great running back. But he doesn't play many games. He misses a lot of time. Well, behind this offensive line, he won't take as many hits. Maybe he stays healthy. With a running back rotation, less usage, maybe he stays healthy. Maybe. I don't know. But then the Eagles sold us on a Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott Penny running back room. Then rumors. It's smart. Yeah, I get it. I can't question Howie and how he allocates money because he's always got us contending. We don't go through 5-year rebuilds. We go through 1-year rebuilds and we're right back on top. So I can't question Howie's decision making on that. But then they go out draft weekend and they make a trade for DeAndre Swift, another injury-prone running back, but another guy that's got huge number type potential, and they're really cheap. You literally look at it. We're probably paying for 4 running backs like $5 million this upcoming year. Between our 4, not counting Sermon, who might not make the team even, or maybe he's just your practice squad guy. Who knows? We're paying like $5 million for 4 running backs. But because DeAndre Swift had this pedigree of expectations in Detroit, which he never really fully lived up to because he was always injured, everyone's assuming that DeAndre Swift is going to be the lead back. So I was just curious. So I ran a poll yesterday after thinking about all this. Okay? Poll question number 1. And these polls one's got almost 400, one's got almost 200 votes. The first poll. Which Eagles running back will have the most touches, counting rushes and receivings this upcoming season? And I put Swift, Penny, Gainwell, and then put other, because you got Scott and Sermon. I didn't think anybody. 0.8% voted other, so maybe one person out of like 400 thought maybe somebody else will lead the team in touches. But almost 70% went DeAndre Swift leading this team in touches. Kenneth Gainwell almost 20% and Rashad Penny 10%. So Swift was, without a shadow of a doubt, the guy that most people think will touch the ball the most. And Rashad Penny, he's going to be a popular guy, St. Joe's product from the Philly area, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a fair understanding that people think, because on paper his talent's there. But I'm just really surprised that so many people think that because we brought in DeAndre Swift cheaply, that he's going to do any more than Penny, who was also brought in cheaply, and that he's going to do any more than Kenneth Gainwell, who this team has constantly said is going to be that leader. That not leader, that future running back, that the leading leader in that running back room going forward. And I severely question why so many people think it's just automatically going to be Swift when that's not. They bring in nobody. They probably still have Kenneth Gainwell as the lead. I think DeAndre Swift probably will have the most touches if all running backs played 17 games, which they won't. But say they all did, Swift will be the main guy. First play of the game next year, Swift will probably be on the field for the first play of the game. He'll be your quote-unquote starter. I still don't know for sure that Rashad Penny even makes the team. His contract very cheap, very easy to get out of. You didn't trade a draft pick, very little guaranteed money up front. There's a chance that he's the odd man out. That they signed him not thinking they would get Swift, and then Swift came around, so they upgrade Penny with Swift. There's still a chance of that. And I agree that he probably does. But to have a 70-20 opinion, I think people aren't taking into account how much and how many people, how much the Eagles really love Penny. So I followed it up with a second, counterpoint. Who do we think will, but who should have the most touches? Who should versus who will? So trying to say what the fans want. The first post is, what do we think the Eagles will do? Versus the second post, what will they do? And the second post of what should they do was even more overwhelming on the DeAndre Swift should lead the Eagles in touches in 2023. And that to me, I thought was even more surprising. Everybody loves Kenneth Gainwell. Everybody was hyped about Penny and now Swift. DeAndre Swift is a cool name. It's a great, local product, but he's got injury issues. And if you want him to be the leader in that running back room, should he really be the guy that's touching the ball the most? I don't even know. I almost should have put the fourth option instead of other as it'll be equal. If you're running this Eagles offense and this Eagles trio at running back, if all three make the team, Gainwell, Penny, and Swift, if all of them, no, I do not want Zeke. He's been bounced around. A bunch of different teams have been rumored to get him, the Eagles being one of them. No need for Zeke, not with the Swift, Penny, Gainwell backfield. Plus, I think Zeke's washed. And I don't want any of that bad juju from Dallas on my team. There's some bad juju in Dallas. Don't want him. Didn't from the first time that rumor happened. I think he even tweeted that he wanted out, or he put on Instagram that he wanted to be an Eagle. No. Keep that away from me. I look at this running back room and I'm like, if all three of these guys make the team, because again, I still think there's a 2 or 3% chance that Penny doesn't make the team. If all three are regulars and starting or playing and active every game day, I think you're going to see. This is why I think, back to, when somebody said earlier about Jalen Hurts having 600 yards rushing this upcoming year, that I think you're going to see a lot less running from Jalen Hurts. Because I think last year you had Miles Sanders touching the ball 20 times a game, then you had 10 or 12 rushes from Jalen Hurts a game. With this running back trio, all three can stay fresh. All three can try to stay healthy because they're not going to get 20 touches a game. Would it be totally out of the realm of expectations that all three of these guys get 10 to 12 touches a game? Kenneth Gainwell, 5 rushes, 5 targets in the backfield. Penny, 9 or 10 rushes, 1 or 2 targets out of the backfield. DeAndre Swift, 8 or 9 rushes out of the backfield, 3 out of the receiving. There's a chance that you've got 30 plays and they're all on the field. They each get 10 touches. And I think I almost should have put other equal amount of touches because I really think you're going to see a very balanced. None of them are. What was it? The year that? Who was it at Eagles? Who's watching right now? You had Correll Buckhalter. You had Vaughn Heberon, and was Shea? It was before Shea. Deuce Staley, Vaughn Heberon, and Correll Buckhalter 1 year. You had a 3-headed monster back there. Forget what year it was. And Vaughn Heberon, I think, was the least in rushing, but he still had 450, 500 yards rushing that year. Correll Buckholder, he had an injured history, but that year, I think he had 500 or 600 rushing yards. You had a 3-headed monster. You look at the Eagles Super Bowl year in 2017. You had LeGarrette Blount. You had J.A. Jai. You had Clemens. Was Boston Scott there? I don't think he was there yet in 2017. But you had a trio. And nobody had 1,230. The Miles Sanders 1,300 yards is tough to replace. But they may have replaced it perfectly with 3 guys that could fill the void. And then some. And that's what I think is very intriguing about this running back group that the Eagles have put together. Is that all 3 of them combined not just fill the void of Miles Sanders, but they alleviate some of the pressure off of Jalen Hurts. And then if you got 3 guys and you don't know, the thing with the 3-headed monster, the 3-headed running back rotation, the only thing that scares me is that you become too predictable as an offense. So when Penny's on the field, it's always going to be a run play. When Kenneth Gainwell's out there, it's always going to be him out of the backfield as a passing. The Eagles offense, and this is going to be part of next year, or next week. Next week, I got my man, Dale Carlson, Coach Dale Carlson. This guy's a great coach. He's coached in college, arena leagues. Europe, USFL, all over the football. He hasn't been in the NFL yet, but he's learned from some of the greats like Tommy Tuberville, and the guy's got 40 years of coaching experience. He's been on the show in the past on previous networks. A great football mind. And we're going to talk coaching strategies. And like when you've got this year, this offense coordinator, Brian Johnson, taking that leap from quarterback coach to offensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator on this team calls the plays. Shane Steichen did for the last year and a half. How he's going to manage the new role. And we'll get into that with Coach Carlson next week because it's going to be all football Fridays every single week throughout the rest of the offseason. Always talking football. Like last night, we could bitch and moan about that Phillies game all we want, but no. We're sticking to football on Fridays. And, I think it's intriguing to see how he handles not becoming predictable in the play calling department, since this is going to be the first time. I don't know if he's ever called plays. Like he was in college. He worked with Kyle Trask at the University of Florida, Brian Johnson. Like I don't think he ever had the role of play call. So it's going to be intriguing. I'm curious what Brian Johnson's doing this offseason to get prepared for this leap into the first time of being a play caller. Is he picking the minds of other coaches that have done it? Is he watching game film and saying, well, what would I have done in this situation? Problem is that gives you a little revisionist theory too. Like I'm wondering how he's preparing himself for that step up in that role. And we don't know how much he learned under Shane Steichen last year of the play calling. Like, was he like listening to his thought process and whatnot? I'm not sure. We only got 13 likes on this video today. This has been a great episode so far talking football. Lots of great comments. Keep them coming in. We got about 10 minutes left in this show. Talking Jalen Hurts quarterback ranking on PFF, the wide receivers, and this running back room. Only 13 likes. That's unacceptable. Make sure we get that up there, guys. And make sure you're shouting from the rooftop, sharing this out to everybody. The most interactive show on YouTube where your opinions actually matter. I think it's going to be really interesting to dive into that aspect of the coaching part when you have this turnover, promotions, people being in roles for the first time that they're not used to. But I think it's going to become very or interesting to see how they keep it unpredictable with a running back rotation. Did I always have faith in Nick Sirianni? So that's an interesting question. Yes and no. So I remember I was 2 networks ago. It was my original founding network that I was part of. It was an Eagles only network that I was a part of, Cam. And we only did Eagles podcasts. And I remember the day he was announced as head coach, I was walking my dog and I was like, wow. Like I was walking him right around behind this building and my phone started beeping. And I'm like, Nick Sirianni, who? So I walked my dog. I came right in here. I had an hour off from work. I got live right away on the screen. And I'm like, yo, breaking news. We got a new coach. It's not McDaniels. It's not, Dabble. Dabble was my top choice. So, Cam, he was the guy I wanted. I wanted Brian Dabble. And it's scary that he's in the New York Giants because he's working on changing the culture there. And I think he's doing a good job. No, the Celtics will not make history. They're not going to make the 7-game comeback. But did I have faith in Sirianni? So when I did the instant reaction to him, I'm like, this is interesting. Like, I've got to have some faith in what Howie Roseman and Jeffrey Lurie are going to do, but where did this name come from? And so we just did an instant reaction. I'm like, I don't know. And then I listened to his press conference, and everybody was jumping down his throat in his intro press conference. And I'm like, no, guys. I instantly remember, because I'm older, Cam, I remember Andy Reid's first press conference. Let me tell you, it wasn't anything spectacular. I remember Doug Peterson's first press conference. It was brutal. So I'm like, let's not overreact to that initial press conference. So I didn't. I'm like, let's have faith. Let's give it a chance. Let's see what happens. So I had some faith in him at first. And then, he starts going on about flowers and he's wearing T-shirts with players' faces on it. And that's when T-shirt gate happened. Me and Joey, Coach Joey from Talking 215, great podcast. We interact with those guys all the time. They've been on here, I've been on there, whatever. Coach Joey, and his muscle shirts on shows all the time, hated the fact that I thought Nick Sirianni used to pander to the players and the fans. And I did, once he started doing it, I called it T-shirt gate, but I said, will this veteran mixed with youth team respond to this type of a coach when the going gets tough? And the going got a little tough. See, the thing is, like I wasn't sure if the pandering and the taking it soft on the players, like I started having some confidence in him. Then I lost that little bit of confidence. And then he's proven me that all my doubts and the reasonings I had the doubts, I was overreacting to. Does that long drawn out answer what kind of faith I had in him? Because again, now I have blind faith. I don't care. Like Nick Sirianni, the guy has earned every ounce of confidence in me. Howie Roseman has earned every ounce of confidence in me. And Howie Roseman, 3 years ago, I was ready to run out of this town. The Carson Wentz debacle, the Doug Peterson debacle, I was ready to kick his butt to the curb. But I was patient. And now I see the fruits of his labors, the big picture. And now I don't think Howie Roseman can do any wrong. Like, I really don't. And I don't want to get revisionist. I don't want to get back into the Doug Peterson and Howie Roseman, fall and Carson Wentz debacle and the fall apart there. But the connection between Howie Roseman, Nick Sirianni, and Jalen Hurts, it seems like those three people are on such the same page, 100%. Brian Daboll Bowl day. Yeah, I mean, I'm a Brian Daboll fan. I think he's a smart man, and he brings a good culture. But Sirianni, Hurts, Howie Roseman, they're like, I don't know. There's like a kindred spirit there. Like they're all connected, and what one does, the other agrees with, and the other one leads, and like they're all on the same page. Howie Roseman's not making decisions without Nick Sirianni. I'm not saying his approval, but knowing that Nick Sirianni can handle it. Nick Sirianni sees what Howie Roseman does and isn't going to question it because he knows he can make it work. Jalen Hurts knows what they're doing, sees the short term and big picture. And it's great. And I think the whole thing about Nick Sirianni, the connection with Howie Roseman and whatnot, it all starts at the top with Jeffrey Lurie. And it's a great comparison with topics we've talked about all week about the Phillies and the Sixers and Josh Harris with the Sixers. Like Jeffrey Lurie and the confidence he gives Howie Roseman and the continuity in the organization and we talk about it. It's the gold standard. Like it really is. Like Jeffrey Lurie is like one of the perfect owners in sports in the sense where he doesn't overreact too much, but he knows how to make tough decisions. Like he could have easily overreacted and fire Howie Roseman, and who knows where we'd be right now. But no, he's patient with him. But he also knows that, when it's time to cut ties, Carson's got to go. I'll write the check. Get him out. Like the three-way there, like it all works together so well. And I think it's an underappreciated thing with our Eagles is the fact that the owner sets the tone at the top of the organization. It's amazing. It really is. And it's funny, like Jalen Hurts has worked out. Jalen Hurts is a top 4 quarterback in the NFL. Whatever. Not top 7 like PFF has him. But I'm sure we're gonna have the same quarterback conversation again when Chris Sims' list is done. Once we get into that top 10 and we see where he puts it. I'm sure we're gonna have another Football Friday where we bash Chris Sims. I'm not bashing Sam Monson. And if anything, I would have him on the show to get his reasoning behind it. But I'm sure we'll have this conversation again. But the confidence that these guys all have in each other. Like, Howie Roseman was given the confidence in his job. He's like, I didn't get Russell Wilson because we all know he tried to get Russell Wilson. It didn't work out. We're going to give Jalen Hurts a try. And Jeffrey Lurie, like Howie Roseman knew his job he wasn't going to instantly be fired if Jalen Hurts didn't work out. He was going to be given confidence. Confidence to take chances. Calculated chances. I think it's interesting. It really is. Who was the guy that got mad at Justin Herbert? I don't even know his name because he had like some fantasy football profile or name. Like it was a fantasy football, Jake fantasy football. I don't know. Like he went off. You want to hear a funny story, Johnny? So I was in a fantasy football league with this guy. So I got invited to this league amongst a bunch of big fantasy football people. It was a free league. It was more for content creation than it was for money. Whatever. I hate free football leagues, but I'm like, all right, these guys, there's about like 5 guys in this league with 30,000 followers, bigger guys than that in this league. I'm like, they invited me. I'm going to be in it. And so he blocks me on Twitter because I said what I thought. He said, well, what do you really think? And I said, I just said what I think. This is it again. And he was like almost like trolling back at me. And So, I'm like, you know what? What the hell? I'm like, dude, I obviously said it. You're either trolling me or something's wrong. So he just blocked me. Anyway, so he's in this fantasy football league. So I go into the fantasy football league group chat. I'm like, yo, whatever your name is, you don't like my opinion, so you block me? And I put it public in the league so everybody saw it. So I got kicked out of the fantasy football league, and I was in first place. It was like 8 weeks into the season, 9 weeks into the season. I was like 8-1 or something like that, clearly dominating the league, which he had actually written an article before the season breaking down the draft in the league, saying my team had the worst team in the league. This guy just blocks me. So he kicks me out of the league when I call him out in front of 11 other guys. It was hilarious. It was super funny. Then I went to my burner account because everybody's got a burner account. I DM'd him from there. I'm like, yo, what the hell? I'm like, yo, you blocked me and kicked me out of the league because you don't agree? It's not like I got offensive. I just said I don't like Justin Herbert. This guy must have a hard on for Justin Herbert or something. I don't know. It's kind of crazy. And so I don't even remember. Send me a DM, Johnny. I'll let you know. I have to look up to see what his account was. I'll send my trolls. Like, I'm over it. Like, I don't really care. I just think it's funny that the way it all, played out. Anyway, this was fun. It was so great to talk football today. I can't wait till football season starts so I can get off of talking the terribly disappointing Phillies on a daily basis so I can get over talking the disappointing Sixers season. Like, I cannot wait till the season starts and it's Monday, recapping games. Tuesday, coaches' thoughts. Wednesday, start the preview for the next week. Thursday, preview. Friday, predictions. Like, it's just football all the time. I can't wait. Like, I can't wait for this community we've built. Again, we never got over 13 likes on this video on YouTube. I don't know, guys. You got to smash that like button for me. You got to share. And if you're watching this on replay, likes help too. Basically, yeah. It's sports talk. Why? I mean, people, Johnny, get so offended when you question their opinion. I try to have a very, very easygoing attitude. Like, I want to have discussions. And when people troll back, and I got into a trolling thing with somebody on Twitter this week where I said my opinion, they didn't like it, so they called me a clown. And I'm like, is that your argument? And it goes back and forth because, like, I say point, you say point. I say, well, this is my thought. You say you're this thought. And then I say, well, we'll disagree or agree or whatever, or fair point or whatever. I want fair conversations. That's what the point of the show. Like, I say this is the show where your opinion matters, actually. Like, I mean that. Like, because there's too many places where in sports talk, it gets heated too quickly and you can't have a logical conversation. Let's just discuss it. Like, two buddies at a bar, watching TV, drinking a beer. That's what I want this show to be about. I just can't drink beer at 9:30 in the morning, 8:30 in the morning when we start. But I can't wait for football season to start because being on this new community, Philadelphia Sports Network, such a new community, so many more people. I can't wait to talk this every morning with you guys. So it's been great. It is Memorial Day weekend, so if you're going out and about, be safe. I plan on doing a show on Memorial Day. We'll see. We'll see what the feelings are, what I do on Sunday. I'm off Sunday and Monday this week for Memorial Day. So I'll definitely try to do a show on Monday. Don't know how long. I was thinking maybe I push it off to 9 a.m. start time so I could sleep a little bit. We'll see. But, everybody enjoy your Memorial Day weekend. Everybody enjoy and be safe if you're traveling to the shore. I can't believe I said the shore. I'm just going to say this. The beach is greater than the shore. And I know that'll offend a lot of people, but beach, which means Ocean City, Maryland, or Delaware, is greater than the Jersey Shore. I find the Jersey Shore overrated. Don't know why anybody would fight that traffic to go to Jersey Shore. Adam, thank you. Hope you have a great Memorial Day. I'm sure you're going to enjoy yourself for sure. No drinking on this show. Maybe I'll crack a beer. It's Memorial Day. Maybe on Memorial Day I'll crack a beer at 9 a.m. on this show. Maybe I'll end the show cracking a beer. I don't know. We'll see. I don't actually crack a beer. I go bottle. Prefer bottles over cans. But everybody have a safe weekend wherever you go, whatever you do. Enjoy it. We'll see you guys on Monday. Have a great weekend for Philadelphia Sports Network. I am Phil Stiefel. Smash that like button. Share this out. We'll be back next week, trending in the AM. For Philadelphia Sports Network, I'm Phil Stiefel. See you next week.